Leon Fury, the Executive Dean, asked at the beginning of the year if there could be a research project undertaken to investigate the possibility of increasing the level of sustainable content in the various programs offered in the Faculty of Creative Industries and Business. And Dr. Peter Mellalieu's name came up at that juncture as a person who could possibly lead this, and he articulated that some faculty funds could be made available to support this, and Peter has responded with an idea which has been circulated amongst the professoriate, and I understand that he wants to make a presentation today to get some feedback from us, both in terms of the intellectual content and perhaps the logistical issues around taking the project further and implementing it. So with that in mind, I'd like to ask you, Peter, if you could present your proposal and we'll give you feedback on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Hello, my name is Peter Mellalieu. I'm a professor here at the New Zealand Centre for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Unitec Institute of Technology. I'm presenting my proposal from recycling to regeneration, lessons with exemplary green enterprise. I'm presenting this presentation today in the format of a dragon's den, which perhaps you've seen as a reality TV on television. And so imagine that I'm asking you for $300,000 over the next 3 years for a 45% stake in the program I'm going to be outlining to you. I invite your questions during the presentation or at the end. I know there's a problem. This is a picture of a young New Zealand student climbing Mount Ruapehu, and she's discussing with her father some of the issues of the environment, climate change. She knows there's a problem, but the question she has in her mind is, but what should I do? And it's a question many of us face. And in fact, some of us wonder, is climate change the issue? What about the shortage of water for 90% of the world's population? What about drugs for malaria? What about erosion of soil? What about toxic elements going into the environment? That's the broader scale of the project, and we all have issues and wonder how we can solve these kinds of problems, or in fact whether there are more important problems. More specifically, when we come to Unitec, in my recent teaching experience, I find that although there are a few who are informed about the kinds of issues that we face, in fact many of our students are not even aware of the kinds of problems that the world face. And even once they become aware, they feel somewhat incapable of addressing those problems and finding ways to present solutions to the businesses in which they're employed, the professions within which they act, or with their homes or communities with which they are part. So part of the challenge is how do we empower students to both, first of all, become empowered with understanding what the issues about the environment and the challenges are for mankind, and then secondly, what to do about it. And everybody, frankly, has a different answer to that solution. We also find from our research that 20% of businesses in, for example, the Rosebank Business Association are seeking advice on how to green their business. We also know from surveys that despite the great financial crisis of the last few years, large and medium-sized businesses are continuing to move towards environmental sustainability in their operating practices. In particular, they're driving backwards through their supply chains into small, medium enterprises, their suppliers, expecting those suppliers to move to become environmentally sustainable. So these are parts of the opportunities and challenges which are being faced, but it is difficult for small, medium enterprise to respond to them. So, the solution. The solution we propose is lessons with regenerators. By a regenerator, I'm talking about moving beyond the idea of just simply recycling and reducing waste, but looking to work with companies which are seeking to have a zero or in fact a positive impact on the environment. A classic example is the company Interface. So we want to learn lessons from exemplary companies such as Interface that have this ambition to have a zero environmental footprint, or companies that want to go beyond. We want to take those lessons and pass those lessons on to small, medium enterprise in particular and our students. I've used the phrase lessons with generators in the sense that not only do we learn from these companies, we actually offer something in return. We help improve their productivity, their efficiency, their plans for growth as part of what we are as an Institute of Technology. Secondly, the solution I'm proposing embraces the wave. At Unitec we call this disruptive wave of educational technologies, massive online MOOCs and things like that. We propose to use a problem-based learning approach, a project-based learning approach, a real-world learning approach. And overall, we're going to frame it as a reality TV type experience, but a version 3 type reformation of this format. The business model, how will we fund this? First, it will be embedded within existing Unitec courses. Then, as we redevelop courses, we will have the additional funding from additional courses. Secondly, we will start to publish the material that we capture as digital media through iTunes University and other forms of online promotion of education and learning materials. Thirdly, another element will be a microfinancing fund, a green-based microfinancing fund. There's one being announced and won a prize at the recent New Zealand Sustainable Business Network. The magic sauce, the specially distinct feature of what we're doing, is called Enterprise GreenWorks. It's a series of masterclasses with green-focused innovators and entrepreneurs. We will bring these people into a studio, or we'll go to their workplace, their studio. They will provide us with a challenge in a similar sort of situation you see in other sorts of reality TVs. And then the participants in the program will work as learning partners, staff, students, researchers, to solve the particular problems that the master has presented to us. And at the same time, we will be learning from these masters how they have achieved the progress on their journey so far. How will we reach our customers? How will we bring in the learning partners to this? First of all, we've got the normal course enrolments, and we have several courses already lined up: quality management, business process improvement, strategy and change, and finally a strategy course. Secondly, snowballing. As we learn and discover these exemplary companies, such as Interface and other prize winners of the Sustainable Business Network, we will get references from them about other people that are doing good things in the space that we want to learn from. Who are our rivals? Well, our rivals, or our competition in New Zealand, include Massey University, which has a massive online presence already, and I was part of that. There's the Open Polytechnic, and there's also the Otago Polytechnic, who are already operating very strongly in the green of business space. And AUT University has most recently, this year in fact, won the New Zealand Sustainable Business Award for massive energy efficiency. Overseas, there are some interesting organisations which we can learn from as a higher education institute. I'm particularly interested in Bainbridge, which is the first institute to offer an MBA in greening the business. That's just off Seattle. Babson is another specialised college which we're very familiar with and have connections with. And of course we all know about Stanford and MIT offering for free these massive online courses in particular things. So those are some of the exemplars which we have to contend with. Our team, this is a spaceholder at this stage, but our team, I have strong support from my boss, Sukesh Sukumaran, head of the Department of Management and Marketing, and I've got indications of support from several colleagues both within the Department of Management and throughout Unitec. So what we hope to achieve is 2 episodes of Enterprise GreenWorks by July 2014. These would be pilot tests of demonstration of concept, and we'd expect to have at least 30 to 60 participants in those 2 episodes, and that would synchronise with the Unitec Sustainable Business Network Conference, which will be held at Unitec next June, for example. By December, we would run another 6 episodes in a more mainline production mode, and continue running another 12 over the next 2 years. Last slide. So our current status is we began developing this proposal about a week ago. We've got about half a dozen people that, as collaborators who are interested to work with what we are doing. We have set up some video examples of the concept based on an early run of this format when I was at Massey University. The format there was called Enterprise MasterWorks. So those videos are now in a nice little playlist on YouTube. There's a YAMA discussion board so that staff through Unitec can comment on the proposal and join into it. We've had 1 presentation at Professorial Forum as of this very moment. So the near future is to continue to refine the program, to fine-tune the resource, the budget implications for it, to bring in particular the School of Screen and Performing Arts to work together on how we operate the program format. We basically need a mobile studio format to do what we're proposing to do. We need to refine the kind of research methodology which will go around it. So beyond just producing the lessons, we also need to be codifying what we're finding into research publications. Yes, basically get some funding commitments for what we are doing. So, how are we going to use the funding resource will be to basically bid out the time that is principally required to do this project by the people that need to participate in it at this stage. Thank you very much for your time. I invite your contributions and questions.
Before we move on to the discussion following the presentation, I'd like to show you an example of some video that will inform how Enterprise GreenWorks might look. This is a piece of video called Enterprise MasterWorks. It was a production carried out by Massey University during the 1990s. In this particular clip of video, we see scientist turned entrepreneur, Dr. John Baker, explaining his requirements for a micro version of the cross slot drill. You'll see one of the students explaining how the cross-slot drill functions. Basically, the cross-slot drill, quite a tongue twister, enables seeds and fertilizer to be sown in one movement. The consequence of this is that the field does not need to be ploughed, and you only need one movement rather than 3 movements to plough, sow, and then fertilise the seed. You get many benefits from this technology, and the benefits are all examples of what today we would call eco-technology or green technology. The benefits include just one cross across the field rather than 3. 2, less soil is destroyed, there's less runoff of soil which occurs due to the ploughing process. 3, there is less weeds and less need to use a pesticide and insecticide to kill the seeds. Anyway, let's have a look at this small sample of a 3-hour production of Enterprise MasterWorks from Massey University, 1990.
G'day. Today on Enterprise MasterWorks we're down on the farm, and with me is Dr. John Baker. Dr. Baker has come to your company with the design of a new product, the home garden version of the cross-slot drill.
This time, seed opener, it goes in, cuts along here. It's a lot harder.
What competing technologies are there in existence at the moment?
Well, we know there's half a dozen other companies that want to get into this same game.
Absolutely, I would think the best thing to do is try and cover.
That would have more application towards the landscape designer and the hire centre sort of situation.
Following through that theme, we talked about how we would expose it, how we would get it out into the market.
I think the average in the United States is 25 years from conception to marketplace. We're 30, so we're about 5 years over.
With all this experience behind you, what kind of people would you gather around you? You obviously leave out the marketing people because they haven't done a good job, or was that wrong?
No, that's not entirely right. The marketing people that we talked to in New Zealand didn't do a good job. They don't see the big picture. We're too insular. We look too much inwards. We don't look out in this massive big market out there.
Okay, so differences in the show. Alan? Clothing.
Sexy shorts.
Where? Did people enjoy the theme side of things, the farm? I knew the answers that I wanted to get, what I wanted to bring out from John at some stage.
Kiwi Ingenuity, which has both a summary of an invention process and how you manage inventions, plus dozens and dozens of case stories of New Zealand inventions.
Thanks for the presentation, Peter. I guess my first question is, how does this attend to the Dean's challenge, which is how do we increase the sustainable content of the eight departments outside of the area of business, because it clearly addresses it in business, but that's only one, or maybe 2 if you looked at accounting and finance. But how does that pertain to the other 7 departments?
Right. I have strong contacts in communications, and I guest lecture in the Department of Communications. So I've got 2 people there lined up. But more generally, the question is, I need to really understand the situation. what is actually being taught, and secondly, what actually is the impact of what is being taught in terms of people's confidence and feeling of competence to apply the skills that they're learning in education for sustainability. I myself don't know what we know about that at Unitec. There are surveys to do that, and that would be a project which will be part of the overall program that I'm thinking of, a situation, a SWOT analysis.
At the moment, the project asserts that it will, look at case studies and then make little documentaries or reality TV programs about those case studies that students can study, which involves students as part of their coursework in the production of those portfolios or documentaries, whatever you want to call them. But it doesn't involve, your proposal at this stage does not involve a survey of what all the programs are in the faculty, what level of sustainability exists in them at the moment, and how that sustainability could be increased. That isn't the project you're presenting, essentially. That's right.
In terms of what I just presented then, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
But it is what you say is a necessary, not necessarily a precursor, but it is a concurrent project which needs to run, and I would certainly be wanting people, or I would be managing that to be done with it at the same thing. It makes sense to do that.
Why? Why would this project have any benefit to a literature survey of the current sustainability content in the faculty programs?
What I'm saying is this can start immediately now without necessarily having to do both a literature survey and a survey of the current state. All three projects, four, can run concurrently. We need to be surveying the international literature. We need to be pilot testing this mechanism and getting the resources and pilot testing the process. And we also need to survey what courses are currently there, what the strengths and weaknesses of education for sustain at Unitec.
So can I just get a few things clear then? The students will go out. How will you articulate the relationship between the businesses and the students? So in other words, how do you find the companies, the hero companies, if you want to call them that?
Okay, so that's the snowball process. The first place to start, obviously, is through the news. What I'm looking for is New Zealand small. Ideally, the ideal is New Zealand small medium enterprise, not necessarily business, any kind of enterprise that have this ambition or are on the track to mission zero. So one obvious source is the NZ Sustainable Business Network. Another is through architecture companies. And so they will have referrals. And then there's the Pure Advantage network, which is attempting to realise this.
That's an existing.
Yes.
Network.
So there is existing ones.
Yeah.
So there'll be enough for the first year's episodes from there, because I'm really, I'm not looking for a survey. I'm only looking for 12 exemplars of good practice.
Yeah.
And some of them may be just people that want to begin the journey of good practice. So
the company then has to be approached, and it has to agree to having this survey or project done on it.
Yeah.
Right, which is no small ask.
Well, hold on, we're not asking
students filming them and that sort of thing. No.
We're not asking them to do a survey. We're just asking them to come in for a 3-hour a 3-hour as live where kind of
Interview.
event. Yeah, well, it's more than an interview. Let me show you some.
They don't
video.
have to be on the campus physically. They don't
No,
have to
no. We can take the studio
to
where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Class.
Yeah.
And how many people in the company are going to be asked to engage in it?
Well, typically it will be just the key champion of the person that we want to learn for, and or the person that's got the problem or opportunity they want us to.
So the students,
to deal
some
with.
of the students, obviously you couldn't have, if you had a class of 40, you couldn't have all of them in the studio. Would they be the audience? Would it be like a live audience?
How it works is, depending on the size of the studio, you fit as many into the studio as you can.
So it's like Forum for the Future, you can have quite a big audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as the audience grows, then you start live feeding it out. I had one at Massey when what's the guy? Dick Hubbard came down.
Yeah.
To Massey.
Yeah.
And my class was 15 students, and
Yeah.
everybody wanted to hear Dick Hubbard.
Yeah.
So we just opened up separate rooms and strung cabling down and stuck a television set in, and they could watch. And we stuck a telephone in the room, and they could ring up and ask questions. So it moved to become.
So the students make this interview. They make a film of the interview, and then what does that lead to? What they get assessed on this activity as part of their study, or
in my case, my expectation is that they would be. If they are students of screen and performing arts, then the production of the material would form part of their learning.
Coursework.
So, for example, here are two which they have produced us already. There was, in the video days, there was entrepreneurialism in New Zealand. There was a program in PASA called Studio 2. Each year they took an issue and the students worked on researching it, and then they ran a talking.
This is Howard Frederick days.
Yeah, and then the second one was this one. This one ended up being on a DVD.
And then, so the students have done some coursework and they've made some material.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
Right. Well, what I want to see happen is when I was at Massey, this material then became part of the course materials used in subsequent classes. So this would then be embedded.
So they've generated some class content.
Yes.
For future years.
Yeah. But I want to go to the next level, that this content is not just made available to us, it's made available to our communities, plus it's put into iTunes University or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Passively. And if you can go to the next level of actually turn it into one of these MOOC-like courses where people actually can enrol.
Well, surely it would be material for the use in a MOOC's course.
Yes.
Because it's not a MOOC's course in itself.
Correct. Exactly.
So has that been conceptualised, or is that a little bit too far down the track? You want to just get these runs on the board first? Get this back up and running?
I want to know how to get this. I know how to do this.
Yeah.
So what's actually required to produce a MOOC material will be the fun bit for me to learn how to create one of these courses.
Yeah.
Unitec has already started to talk with some American agency. Linda Keeson Stiles is pioneering this, looking for courses that we can turn into these MOOC-like things. They're calling it the carousel.
Not around sustainability, though.
Not around sustainability.
No, but they could be.
It could be.
Yeah.
That might be generation 3, where we start to offer specific MOOC in greening the business, focused on small medium enterprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my feedback is that this is essentially academic portfolio around. Are you familiar with that term?
Are you going? No.
Okay, it's cool. No one is, but evidently I found out today that it's faculty specific, and what it is it's an agenda where the faculty is trying to get staff and students to be engaging in teaching and learning outside of the classroom and in industry and communities.
Yeah.
So this is that.
Yes.
It fits that agenda.
Yes.
That portfolio
Yeah.
is being held and driven by Athena, Academic Portfolios.
Right.
And the movie is an example of one. Remember the movie she made last year?
Yeah, I went
What's
to
it
that.
called? Stars in Your Eyes.
Yeah.
Right. So, to me, this is essentially an academic portfolio project, a really good one, which also ticks the sustainability agenda, which is one of Unitec's prime targets, and it won an award for it last year, you'll recall. But it is ostensibly located in one department with the potential of partnering with one or two others in the production aspect. It's essentially research and study around sustainability in business with the potential of partnering on the production aspect in definitely PASA and maybe communication. To me, your challenge, that getting it done is a great, do it and make it happen, that's a great challenge. It's the first challenge, obviously, and that's a thing in itself. And you know, if we were a forum, I guess, you know, you've got the sense from me that I just think I've had a bit of enough actually, and if it wasn't for you, I would have chucked it in today.
Thank you.
You know, you guys go and run it if you want, but to me it's just a figment of Leon's imagination. But at any juncture, if there was a functioning forum, we could support you in this, and that would be one of the things the forum could do. So that's one thing. But another challenge to me is to think of ways of how this can be more faculty based. Because at the moment, to me, it's more rooted in one department. Nothing wrong with that. Most things are rooted in one department, but you're going to get more support from the dean and from the faculty if it's more embracing and collaborative.
Okay.
You know.
So, for example, can I test an example? The other day, I met an architect who has designed a form of construction for housing. It can be packed into a container. It's Green Star 5 rated. It can be shipped anywhere in the world.
So therefore it's relevant to architecture.
And he will be one of my first guests on here.
Okay.
And so typically that model can form, okay, you'd like some green content material for your department, engineering, then
so pragmatically, how are you going to get Dushko to get his, what year is Jade, Rose's niece, what year is she?
I don't know.
Will you teach her? Is it first, second, third year?
It'll be fourth or the fifth.
First
or second masters.
First or second masters, okay. So she's a first year master's student of Dushko's. How are you going to articulate your course with his course so that she's getting credits in his course? I mean, why would she come and work with you for no credits? She's got to work part-time to pay her rent. She's got a love life or a social life. She's got to do a study. She's got some other interests as well. That's the big challenge. That's something that you have to pragmatically deal with. Especially when you start growing faculty-wide.
What seems to happen is that when you run an episode, let's suppose I run this one in architecture, and so a few more architecture students decide to turn up to the event. And we have, during the 3-hour episode, we have some preliminary suggestions of solutions for approaches. And then almost voluntarily people say, I want to work on that. And the team gets together and they will get academic credit for, it might be an architect design project which has emerged from the decision. And then it rolls and the assignment is created.
I see.
And
so it would be up to Dushko from that point to pick it up and run with it and integrate it into his 2000. Say, for example, the program happened in 2014. he could then pick it up and integrate it into his course in 2015.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it takes that time to plan. You know, this is the thing that I see time and time again, oh, let's do this and let's do that.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to it, you know, well, Dushka says, well, sorry, mate, I've already planned on my lectures. I mean, you know.
This is a challenge. So we have to, so the challenge is to have, because on the one hand, the business says, to me, they said, oh, look, that's nice, you've come and visited our company.
Yeah.
Abilities. We want a carbon green calculator.
Yeah.
Great. I've got to wait until I teach my course in 6 months' time.
Yeah.
Find and spot the graduates that I would dare trust to reflect on this company. And now, 12 months later, well, 9 months later, say, right, I've got 9 students that I think could do this job. I'll offer it to them because the job's still on.
Yeah.
That is what we have to get a far faster, just-in-time response to, and I will be seeking to pilot test some ways.
So obviously at the moment you're selling this to your HOD so that you can integrate it into whatever courses you teach and you can get some runs on the board. To me, there's here's a couple of suggestions that you could think about. Am I hogging this? Are you making notes that you want to do anything like that? Okay, so another couple of, this is sort of like pragmatic implementatory suggestions. Okay, there's a need for a more pragmatic approach. I mean, there are some challenges here. Exactly, you could build dams and things like that. So you know that there has to be a structure to put in place here. So by taking it upstairs to Athena and letting her know that this is what you're doing at the very least, and saying, look, I'm going to go away and in first semester one I'm going to do one of these, and I want to come and show you it. When I've done it, so that we can talk about and also see if she's got some ideas and take it to her because it is an academic portfolio project and one of her KPIs is to grow academic portfolios, right? So she might say, well, actually I've got a little bit of seeding funding, or you could talk to this, or this person could help you with some production, or that kind of thing. She is a filmmaker as well, so I strongly advise you do that in the next week. Do it soon, because the year's running out. The third approach that you could look at, and it's too late this year, but you could look at this, and that is, well, maybe it isn't, maybe you have, but at any juncture you could look at doing it, but then doing a little study on it. So Peter Mellalieu does a academic portfolio project. He gets some business students to do a case study on a hero company that's exercising best practice around sustainability. He collaborates with a couple of communication students and or a couple of PASA students to do the production, and they make this piece which communicates best practice around sustainability in that particular industry. In the process of doing that, Deborah Rowlands or Ashoka Gunaratne does a case study on his portfolio, interviewing students, interviewing the industry, interviewing the production people, and finding out to what degree this exercise is successful in integrating students into industry. And engaging them in an educational experience which is not in a classroom, and presenting a report on how to do this better next time.
Yes.
Right? So in other words, you do a research project and you get some research funding and you get partner investigators from different departments across the faculty to work with you on it so that they're engaged in the project. And so you get some kind of, institutional structure and authority around it. Are you familiar with Ravi's Q Haven project?
Not at all.
Ravi Bhatt. Okay, so this is a big sustainable project, a sustainable piece of...
It involved landscape as well, didn't it?
It involves 5 departments. And so he came to me and I advised him how to do this. And this is where we took it out. We've got we've actually got 2 faculties and 5 departments involved, and you can see by doing that it gives the thing some mana.
Yes.
And you get some momentum that way, and the people who own the property, it's an old dairy farm that is being restored to virgin forest. That's the aim, and they are big bloggers. So everything Unitec ever does is blogged on their site, which of course is a form of low-level publishing.
Yes.
But publishing nonetheless. So you can put a link into something and say, well, look, this is what happened here. And 3 of the 5, 4 of the 5 departments, possibly all the departments, are also, this research project, they're also credit-bearing coursework for the students involved. So, for example, in graphic design, they design wayfinding for the property so that the public knows what's going on. And all the students designed a wayfinding for the property. Jeanette Budget's involved, and she did something that she got students involved in designing an information centre. Mel Galbraith is doing bug counting with natural sciences. Landscape architecture are doing, and it's so it goes, you see. So they're doing teaching and learning and research, also research. But the question is, how can we develop a sustainable model for, developing an eco-property, a sustainable business model. It's actually a business research question. And that's what the research is supposedly in. I'm very open, you see, because I'm an artist. I don't come from classical research background. I'm much more open than most associate deans would be to different sorts of research, And so I encourage these sorts of things because I think in the longer run, I know that the research outputs are pretty low level. I mean, being in Tom's blog is hardly a high level research output. But Ravi will publish on this, and so will Jeanette. They're co-chief investigators. But more importantly, it's helping to build a faculty culture of collaboration.
Yes.
People are getting to know each other and that sort of thing.
So, I want to do that.
And I think you're the type of person who could do that too. But you need that sort of implementing. It's that implementation that you need the support with. You need to be tapped into some faculty structures. Academic portfolio and research are 2 possible structures. Yeah. I think the forum, your desire to present it to the forum is worthy, but as you can see, it doesn't really exist.
No, but I've got what I wanted.
Okay, that's good.
I've got my first practice at doing the presentation, which I thank you for.
Right.
And it's stimulated a lot of ideas, even if only from you. But actually, Paul Pang, just before he went out, he's given me 4 ideas and questions, and he's going to write and assign to me as well.
Someone like him could bring huge value to something like this. He's incredibly engaged.
Because he's connected with the stage is his now. He says, now you do realise that cloud computing has a strong connection with green technology. And I do know that, but I have not made the link of that in terms of what I had conceived. So he's going to be feeding me resources of that. I know Samuel Mann at the Otago Polytechnic. I'm on his feed for computing for sustainability. So and that is, a computer engineer in one part of me. So and they want to do more with me in that in that area.
So that's great.
I have whispered an early version of this project to the Athena.
Set up a meeting.
She almost looked at me in shock. Horror. I said I was talking with Dan Wagner about it.
Right, yes.
So
good to go and talk to her first. Sala and Marcus, you presented this, and Marcus suggested that a meeting with her would be really worthwhile. And tell her it's about a sustainable academic portfolio project. Academic portfolio. That's what will prick her ears up. That's her KPI, you see.
Right.
You can bring value to her agenda.
Right.
That's always the
value
key.
to your agenda. Right. Okay. Academic portfolio. I better find out what this bloody word academic portfolio means.
You have to remember it.
What does it mean?
Just
It's all by the words. Have you come across this word, entrepreneur?
I've used the word ecopreneur.
Yeah, I know.
That one's
I know you have.
that's horrible. That's far too complicated.
Yes, it's very it's
Hard to
very
pronounce.
French.
No, not having that one. I'm trying to get our department to give up trying to use the word entrepreneur.
I'm going to
everywhere.
Google it when I get home. Hey guys, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Any quick comments from you, Joshua?
Well, no, I don't know enough. I mean, you know, I have to say I'm more interested in actually getting such businesses on this campus physically.
Yes, yes.
You know, in terms of, you know, like
living
IBM,
here.
but, you know,
Yes, yes.
greener than IBM. IBM has not really fulfilled
Yeah.
our expectations.
Well, why don't we start building some of these decent eco buildings instead of these?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Unitec still, I understand, has the intention to build a living building somewhere. I don't know for which department
Well,
or school or whatever, but that's still in the cards.
Yeah.
At some point they're going to shift us all out of there. Apparently it's 2015, they're going to need to build something to put us into down in Building 1.
That's right, yeah. All the departments from Building 1. Unless departments disappear.
That's true.
Yeah.
We got rid of one.
And this is the project to make them disappear.
Marcus doesn't care anymore.
Right.
It's not funny.
Mark, now you've been a good observer of all of this. Have you just had some ideas and comments?
I just soak things up so that when I'm asked to action things, I can know what I'm talking about.
All right. Okay.
When I get the email from Marcus going, please.
Okay. Right.
I know what you're doing.
Okay. Good. Good. Appreciate that. You appreciate what I'm doing. Thank you very much for your
But you
feedback.
certainly can count on support from architecture. I mean, you know, this is very close.
Yeah.
The example you've used is obvious.
But you hear what you appreciate what I'm saying about if Peter wants your students involved, it has
That's right.
to
We
be
need
on
to
a
know.
credit
We need to
bearing
know
basis.
early on. Exactly.
Yeah, it has to
Especially
be
with
now.
my master supervisions, you know, I'd love actually the two of us to supervise the same student.
Lovely.
1 year, you know,
Yeah. Oh,
like next year or something.
Yes. Done.
I have about 5 of them now coming. I'll have a look at if any of them, one might be, or even 2, kind of close to sort of, you know, business issues and stuff.
Right.
We could actually attempt
Yeah.
that.
Well,
But
don't
you
forget
know-
the engineering
Starting
as
in
well.
February,
It's
yeah.
an engineer as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
realise, yes.
Not a building engineer, industrial engineer.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
But now you know that I run a course. It's a master's course, so it's innovation, creativity, enterprise, and design.
Yes, you
And
told me, I
it's-
think 2 years.
It's complete freedom for any student from
Yeah,
any
but we
master's
don't have a
program.
culture of students taking courses in other
Yeah,
departments. It's
yeah.
tragic, yeah.
So that becomes a vehicle course for masters, postgraduate students to sort of say, oh, it doesn't quite fit into the prescription, but here is a course that I could do for which I get credit to take one of the ideas
Instead of another
to reach
elective.
down
I
and
know,
do it.
yeah, that's true. I
So,
know.
yeah. Yeah.
All right, Peter, I too have to take my leave, but thank you for your care and presentation. And do you need a ride down to Building 1 or anything like that?